Okay, so get this.
We are on for a deep dive today.
And we are going straight into the mind of this guy.
On a bike ride.
Like we've got this monologue,
Totally unscripted.
just raw thoughts and feelings,
It's kind of amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, and our cyclist today.
He's got opinions, let me tell you.
1 minute, he's all deep in the world of Italian autocross.
And then the next he's got me wondering, are aliens real?
Talking about everything from YouTube beef to living in a world without money.
But here's the thing.
Like, through this whirlwind of tangents,
You picked up on this central frustration.
he is deeply bothered by something.
And we all encounter it every day.
Dishonesty, people just looking out for number one.
Yeah.
It's like this autocross thing, for example,
It puts his energy, like all of his energy,
into building this really cool community online.
connecting tons of enthusiasts.
Sounds like a success story, right?
Right.
But then he tells us how someone comes along.
Throws a wrench in the whole thing.
They're more interested in their own gain.
Then the good of the group.
And it really gets under his skin.
Of course.
And it's not just some, like, online spat, you know?
It feels like a microcosm of something much bigger.
It definitely speaks to this tension
Wouldn't you say?
that's always sort of buzzing in the background
This push and pull.
between wanting to build something great together
Yeah.
and this drive to kind of get ahead as individuals.
But what I find so fascinating here is how much he seems to crave a space
Yes.
built on a shared passion. Genuine collaboration like that seems to really matter to him.
And you can practically hear the disappointment in his voice when it doesn't pan out that way.
It's like he's hitting a nerve.
That we've all felt, you know?
Totally.
That desire for honesty, for genuine connection.
But you're constantly bumping up against the reality.
Yet everybody's got their own agenda.
Right, and he doesn't stop there.
This frustration, he connects it.
To his work. Even just interacting with his neighbors.
It's like he sees this pattern of self-interest playing out everywhere he looks.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He starts talking about how he wishes we lived in a world
Where honesty and collaboration...
which is the default setting.
Like, imagine that.
Yeah.
He paints this picture of this happier, more efficient, way more fulfilling life.
For everyone, if we could just get on the same page.
And he even tells this story about a coworker.
Who's incredibly strict with his diet. This guy, even at company dinners, will stick to his guns.
And politely refuse to overindulge.
And you might be thinking, okay, what does this have to do with anything?
But the cyclist, he sees it as this really powerful act.
Of individual integrity,
It's like, this guy is showing up.
with his values front and center.
Yeah.
And that's kind of amazing.
It's like even in this like smallest, tiniest choice,
This guy's showing up.
values front and center.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of amazing.
But then our cyclist, he takes this hard left turn.
Okay.
He gets into this whole thing.
About work being like modern day slavery.
Yeah, and this is where
His personal experience starts to weave into...
this much broader critique of society,
Right.
It's not just about individual bad actors anymore.
He's like pointing the finger at the systems themselves.
Ama-
Yeah.
Okay.
And what he finds dehumanizing?
Isn't necessarily the work itself.
But this like relentless pressure to earn...
To consume, to chase after money.
Yeah.
Just kind of keep our heads above water,
It's like he's saying the system itself...
is rigged against us being truly honest
Yes.
and collaborative.
Yeah.
We're stuck competing.
Even when it goes against our better nature.
Exactly. And this is where his idea,
Of a post-money society comes into play.
he starts riffing on technology,
Okay.
AI, automation.
All that stuff that's moving at warp speed these days.
And he's like, what if all this tech,
Could actually provide for everyone's basic needs.
whoa, okay,
That's a wild thought.
right.
No more scrambling to make rent.
Worrying about healthcare bills.
Just like freedom to pursue whatever lights you up.
Right. He's imagining a world
Where our time and our energy
aren't dictated by this need.
to earn a paycheck.
It's a pretty radical shift,
Yeah.
but it speaks to this deeper yearning,
For something more than...
just grinding away to keep the system going.
Okay, but hold up, because this...
This is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Our cyclist,
He's not all sunshine and roses about the future.
he points out something kind of chilling.
Okay.
We've got all this tech, right?
More than ever before.
Right.
But the world,
It feels like it's getting more chaotic,
more divided.
more anxiety, more conflict.
Everywhere you look.
It's like He's stumbled onto this paradox of progress
Like we think about technology.
as this force for good, right? Connecting people, solving problems.
But it's also a tool.
And tools can be misused.
That's true.
They can be used to
To
manipulate
control, to amplify.
the very things that divide us.
He even brings up AI specifically.
On the one hand, you've got this potential,
To automate jobs.
which could be amazing, right?
Free up people's time.
Yeah.
But on the other hand,
What happens if millions of people are out of work?
because a robot can do it better.
That's a whole other can of worms.
It's like we're standing on the edge of something huge, you know?
Yeah.
But we just don't know.
Amazing or terrifying.
And maybe that's the point he's trying to make.
It's not about having all the answers,
It's about being aware of the questions, right?
right?
Like we can't just assume.
Technology's going to solve everything.
We have to be thoughtful.
Intentional about how we use these powerful tools.
It's almost like he's saying we need to figure out.
Like what our values are as humans
Yeah.
before we just hand over the reins to the machines,
It's about reclaiming that sense of agency, right?
Yes.
Both individually and collectively.
And I think that's where his message, even with all of its like twists and turns
Ultimately.
on the power of individual choice,
You're right, because even though he's wrestling with all these like big systemic issues,
it keeps coming back.
those small everyday moments,
Totally.
like giving a genuine compliment to a stranger,
Yeah.
it felt like such a simple thing.
But it really seemed to stick with him
And I think that's a really important takeaway here.
because it's easy to get overwhelmed by like the state of the world.
I feel like our individual actions don't really matter.
Yeah.
But what he's reminding us
Is that every choice
is every interaction,
has the potential to like shift the energy.
even in a small way,
It's about
choose
choosing
connection over conflict.
kindness over apathy.
Yeah.
Those little acts of honesty and integrity.
They add up.
Exactly. It's about weaving a different kind of fabric for society.
One thread at a time.
And those threads, they're not made of algorithms.
Or economic theories.
They're made of human connection
Empathy. Those moments of shared humanity.
that remind us we're all in this together.
You know, as much as this guy seemed frustrated at times,
I didn't come away feeling hopeless.
if anything, I felt kind of inspired, you know?
It's like he found a way to hold on to hope,
Yeah.
even in the face of all this complexity.
And maybe that's the most powerful message of all.
We don't have to wait for the world to change.
To find those moments of joy, of connection, of meaning,
They're already there.
just waiting to be discovered in the everyday.
So next time you're out on a walk,
A run, maybe even hopping on your bike.
take a cue from our friend the cyclist.
Let your mind wander, question your assumptions.
And maybe, just maybe,
You'll stumble upon your own deep dive waiting to happen.